Hello and welcome to another Paint With Me video. This is going to be day 5 of Folktale week and the prompt is death. I just did a little sketch. It's pretty loose and the line work isn't clean or crisp, but it doesn't matter. I just like to plan out the general shapes of where everything's going to go. So here's my kneadable eraser. I just love using this. It kind of feels like blue tack, and then if you just squish it around and dab it all on the image, it takes away any loose graphite that's on the top so that your paint won't smudge when you start painting. And then I've got my Winsor & Newton gouache paints, and of course can't forget the washi tape. I really tried to plan out the colour palette that I was going to use today because I wanted it to feel a little bit spooky, and it is set in the middle of the night. So I tried to use mainly purples with also some yellow ochre highlights to pop out. So the story that I've illustrated today is called Broadwater Midsummer Oak. It's a folktale from England and it's pretty spooky. So close to Broadwater stood an old oak tree. Every Midsummer's Eve, as the clock struck midnight, skeletons rose up from its roots beneath the ground. They danced hand in hand around the tree to the beat of their rattling bones. Once the first cockerel cried, they sunk back down into the ground just as suddenly as they had appeared. So here I just started off with a thin layer of gouache paint, a bit like a wash, kind of used it like watercolours, to map out the general light and dark areas and to add a base layer of paint. And then now I'm going in with thicker layers that are less diluted with water, just to build up some dimension and deepen the dark areas. And then I added some light blue tones, just for a bit of variation. Then I painted around the oak with this super dark purple. And I did leave some spaces where I knew the skeletons' heads were going to be, just because they're such a large area, it was easier to just leave it, and I know that they're going to be painted with a light colour, so I didn't want to risk the gouache smudging with the layer beneath, because it reactivates with water, so I thought it would just be so much simpler if I left the space and went in and painted it later. I was kind of struggling to give the tree the effect that I wanted, so I just kept going in with dark paints and trying to blend them out, but I was getting a little bit frustrated at this point. I don't know if you can tell. But then you've just got to sit back and remember, this is the ugly painting stage. It happens to everyone, and you have just got to keep going. It's never going to look perfect like a finished piece until it is the finished piece, so you can't expect it at this early stage to look great. So that's what I was trying to tell myself. I grabbed a smaller brush and just went in with some more highlights. And then this is when I had my idea to go in with a tiny detail brush and just add these fine lines like cross-hatching, because I thought they would mimic the texture of the wood and also give it some more shape, and I'm so happy that I did that. I think it just brought the whole piece together. And now I'm going in with a super light yellow ochre colour for the skeleton's head. The reason that I chose this yellowish tone is because yellow is a complementary colour to the bluish purple, so it's going to stand out and contrast a lot to the rest of the painting, which is what I wanted to happen. and it almost makes them seem like they glow a little bit because they're so light in comparison to the dark purple, and they are supposed to be spooky and magical. And now I'm just sketching on where I want the other skeletons to be. And it did take a couple of goes because I wanted them to look kind of jangly, like they're dancing and ricketing around. But I think I got that in the end. And I bet you're wondering what I was doing with my paintbrush then, just waving it around above the page. But this is something that I do sometimes before I just go straight in with a line. And I test out the motion that my hand is going to have to do to paint it first. And I'm so glad that I do this because sometimes I get it way wrong. And then you can adjust how you think your hand is going to move on the paper. And it's kind of like tracing it out before it actually touches the paper. And then I just went in and added some really cool light blue shadows and some more warm shadows as well. I added the blues just to tie it in a little bit more with the rest of the scenery. And then I went in and added some more tiny little details with this tiny brush because it's supposed to be a bit rugged and an unkempt area. So I added some grass and stones and overgrown weeds and flowers. And then I just kept going in and adding more texture and lines to the tree and to the bark and darkening up some areas. Then I've got my trusty Reeves Gold metallic acrylic paint and added some little swirls around the ring where all of the skeletons are dancing, just to signify that it's magic and that they're dancing in a ring. And there we go. So I peel off the paint. Oh, I just love that moment. Just looks so crisp and clean. And now if there's a lighting change, it's just because I switched the light on because it was getting quite dark. And then I painted a border to tie it in with the rest of my Folktale Week paintings. And I went for this dark blue. And I added some other lighter shades of purple just to give it some more texture. And then I went in with the gold metallic paint and decorated the frame, or the border. And I painted the phases of the moon because this happened every Midsummer's Eve. And here we go, here's the finished piece. Let me know what you think. This is personally my favourite piece that I did for Folktale Week. I just love all of the details and tiny little dots and lines in it. So I think that's going to be something that I'm carrying forward with my work, just adding a lot more texture and lines. Let me know what you think, and also let me know which one is your favourite out of the paintings that I've done so far. Thank you so much for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.